Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Walking Dead After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Morgan just keeps getting crazier. Chemical warfare has met the Walking Dead, and we say goodbye to yet another fan favorite character. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to break down the whole episode for you here. We'll see you on the Walking Dead After Show in just a second.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh my God, it's like we're in an episode of The Walking Dead. This music is so exciting.
It's so scary.
We got the lights too. We got the red
the lights.
Yeah,
Now I'm really freaked out, you
crazy.
guys.
Yeah. This pen would make a good weapon. I could probably
It
get
would be.
a
You
walker.
could use it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
right?
your train of thought. I would use the mug personally.
You'd
but
smash it on their
I
head.
totally would.
Smash
That
it.
wouldn't work for
Yeah.
you. No,
I mean-
you'd tear some skin off maybe, but it'd bite your wrist and then it gets real dark after that.
Very
guess,
dark.
yeah.
Very dark.
Yeah. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's AfterBuzz TV here. We are talking The Walking Dead. It is Season 8, Episode 13. Do not send us astray. And we have a very exciting episode for you. We're going to break down a ton of different cool things. We have we have one death we have to talk about.
Yes.
Potential death of another beloved character. We've got double crosses, one character who just won't die, and Morgan is so crazy as he continues to make his progression towards Fear the Walking Dead. So we'll be getting into that, doing comic book predictions and spoilers at the very end of the episode, spoiler free, because that's how we do it. Our general predictions and a little bit of news we'll be getting to at the end of the episode. I have a wonderful panel. I've got Timothy Michael. What's going on? How you doing, buddy?
What's up, everybody? Glad to be here.
I've got Derrial Christon.
I am back with us today.
Slow clap.
Yeah.
Slow clap for myself.
Derrial is back in the office.
I'm back in the office today.
Yeah.
I left and went on vacation
Took a
last
sabbatical.
Sunday, but then I came back.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm happy
full
to
effect.
have you back. And I am
Thanks.
Ben Bateman, merely Ben Bateman. I say we get straight into things, guys. It's a very exciting episode. So let's get right into the good stuff.
Yeah.
In an attack on the hilltop, Dwight shoots Tara with an arrow.
Yeah.
Fans think it's to save her because it's not an infected arrow, because we've now seen what happens with all the infected weapons.
Yeah.
What do we think? What do you guys think of the episode in general, but it's that specific point too? I think it's an important question.
I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I think, like I had predicted maybe 2 episodes ago, I feel like the closer we get to the season finale, the better the episodes are going to get. Last week's episode got an 8.6 on IMDb. This one got an 8 already.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's got pretty good ratings. I really liked it. I would also give it an 8. I feel like the excitement was there, the thrill was there. I didn't know what was going to happen, and it kept me on my toes. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
In terms of Tara, I also think that it's a clean arrow. I think that she would have had a fever, or she would have not looked as healthy by the time we saw her at the end of the episode if she was infected.
Right.
I actually really enjoyed the episode. I mean, it's interesting because when I started the chat at the beginning, before we started the show, there was some comments that were saying this was a bad episode, and I have to disagree with that. I actually thought it was a pretty decent episode, and it kept me kind of interested the entire time. I mean, I really felt like this episode was all about realizing Maggie's leadership and other people realizing that. And I just kept finding myself trying to realize or trying to think about who is more tough at this age, Henry or Carl?
Oh, sure.
Because
Okay.
it seems like Henry's a little bit more jaded, maybe.
Right.
But I'm like, when Carl was his age, who was more tough? So that's what I was thinking about a lot during the episode.
I mean, if we're going to chime in on that, I would say that Henry is a little bit more tough just because of the loss that he experienced. And we
Right.
talked about it on this episode before. Loss makes you a little tougher. It makes you more hard ass. I feel like Carl, when he was Henry's age, I don't think he lost Lori yet. I could be mistaken. I don't exactly know how old Carl was when Lori died, but I think he was older than Henry when Lori died at the prison. So I would say that Carl's probably more badass.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good point. Yeah, I think I don't get the feeling. I mean, there's a couple things that I want to say about Henry. We'll get into it this episode. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think they're setting up a very familiar storyline.
They are, yeah.
But I think he's probably a little more badass, but he's also dumber.
Yeah.
You know, one of my notes, and I hate to say it, but one of my notes in this episode was like, how predictable a stupid kid being a stupid kid. It was just like,
You did say that. Yeah.
it's like, really? Like I'm just gonna walk into this pen of like 38 people and unlock it with a gun and just like nobody's gonna get away. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
Like even if a walker hadn't bitten somebody, I think one of the guys would have just like dove at him, knocked him down. He's like half their size, taken the gun, they all would have run off. So
Yeah.
But
I'm
you're
surprised
fearless
he's
at
not
that age,
dead.
though. But you're fearless. You know what I mean? You don't think about those things when you're his age.
No, you
you're
just wanna kill the kid who
wanna
killed your brother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, that's a point. How on earth is Joshua Michael still alive in the show? That's the guy with the long hair. He's like
Jared.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like the dude. I also, that actor, by the way, is everywhere right now. He's been in a lot of stuff recently.
Okay.
He plays the carnival. What's it called? The Ferris wheel operator at the end of Love, Simon.
I didn't know that.
wow.
Yeah, he which was a great movie, by the way.
It was. It was
Love
a great
that
movie.
But I've seen him in like 3 or 4 things recently. He's like just one of those guys that's working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, he's that character that you're just like, the writers are like winking at us all the time. They're like, we're just going to keep this guy alive.
Yeah.
We know you all think he should be dead by now.
Yeah.
We know you all hate him.
Yeah.
But he has to, he's that love to hate character.
Yeah.
You need one of those guys, right?
Yeah, well, he's also, sometimes I get him, you know, I mean, I obviously know who they both are, but sometimes he and Dwight kind of cross paths to me.
Okay,
and,
sure.
You know, certain profiles, I'm like, wait, which one is it? You know, I got to remember, like, what's their names again?
He's
you
like
know?
more similar looking to Jesus, I feel like. I think that's like his
Yeah,
comp.
that's true, too. I'll give you that.
I think so
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, that's the first question. We are going to give a quick shout out to Dalton Farine, who gave us a wonderful review on iTunes this last week.
Right.
Thank you, Dalton.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dalton Farine, for your support there. Which reminds everybody here, guys, we provide free content here on AfterBuzz TV, and we will always do that. So if you guys want to go and find our show on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating, review, let them know how much you enjoy us talking to you about Walking Dead, that would be awesome. It's the best way to keep us in business here and keep the lights on. So thank you so much for that. Let's get back to this point of Maggie being the leader. They've really been developing this point. It's seemingly like Rick's only in this episode a little bit. He shares the screen with Maggie in those moments, right? And you get a lot of moments this episode. You know, Maggie, you're a good leader. You save lives. You kind of get the sense that like Rick has tried everything. He's sort of like, it feels like he's emotionally spent at this point. He's lost Carl. He's still a leader, but I don't think he has the mental facilities to like be the guy anymore. Like just the only guy. He doesn't feel like the leader of the show anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like because Maggie lost Glenn and now that Rick has lost Carl, they have to lean on each other. And I think that's why it's more of a partnership rather than Rick being more of the leader. And I feel like Maggie just is being fueled by vengeance and she just wants justice for Glenn.
Yeah.
That she's just going balls to the wall and it's like, you know what, I need to do what I need to do and kill who needs to be killed. But she also has this really interesting ability to lead, but also have sympathy and empathy for those around her, which I think Rick had, but later on in his leadership abilities.
Yeah, I mean, interesting duo, actually, because I feel like they both bring two totally different things, but they both have kind of like manifested because they've experienced the same type of death. You know, they both have lost so much between the two with their family, you know, and their significant others. You know, they have a very similar story that I think that they complement each other, but I think that Rick just completely just trusts what Maggie has to bring to the table. And I think that she's developed her, you know, her hard texture, but also she does, like you said, she has like, you know, empathy towards things, but she still is ready to lay down the law and have no nonsense when it comes down to it. If she has to make that decision.
I had heard, you know, we talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about how we think The Walking Dead is only going to last another season or two. And one of the commenters had said that Lauren Cohn was offered a 4-year contract, which would suggest that the show would go till season 12.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. We'll actually we have a news segment we'll do at the end of the show. We'll kind of break down a few other pieces that are coming out. But I thought that was really interesting to know that, you know, as we've talked about, getting 7-8 million views, even if it is half or a third of the peak of the show, still better than like 85% of what's on TV.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they are just going to try to keep the actors they can keep around for as long as they can. And if, you know, she wants to do both shows, I just don't know how they can really develop her as the lead character and also have her star if the ABC show she's on is a hit.
Yeah.
You can't do both. You can't like.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because ABC shows are very ficky when it comes to greenlighting new seasons. So if you have like a bad season, they will cut you with your half a season. Yeah, they won't wait until your season is over. They will cut you really fast. So I think her best option would probably be to stay on The Walking Dead, just because I don't know. I've seen ABC shows and they get cut real fast if you're not good.
AMC they're pretty free with their renewals.
Yeah.
They are.
Shows get a lot of rope. Speaking of which, actually, this is just a little bit of a non sequitur, but I think a lot of people are probably interested in this. You guys both know the famous Jeff Daniels newsroom speech, right?
Yes.
America's not
America's
the
not
greatest
that
country in the
great,
world.
yes.
So it's like, I think there's like a general consensus by most people that that's the greatest moment in the history of television,
Sure.
or it's one of the top 5.
Yeah.
It's like the most honest, incredible speech. If you haven't ever watched this, guys, look up on YouTube why America is not the greatest country in the world anymore. You'll start crying. It's like the most amazing piece of writing by Aaron Sorkin of all time.
Yes.
So Jeff Daniels was recently on an interview with Sam Jones on Audience Network, and he asked him about that. He's like, tell me about that day on set, getting the script, being with Aaron, like shooting that scene. And it's so cool. You should look this up. It's a 3-minute piece where he's like, I was living in the Midwest. I was seeing other actors get the parts that I wanted. I knew I needed a hit. And the reason I bring it up is because he says, you know, we had gotten a green light on a pilot. That's all we had gotten was a pilot. You know, he's like, but HBO had canceled series with bigger people than me, bigger people than Aaron. He's like, we knew that if we didn't knock that one scene out of the park, if it was not what we needed it to be, that show wasn't going to go.
Yep.
So he's like, you got to go and you got to hit a home run. And he's like, and we did. We knocked it out of the park. It's a very, very cool thing to watch. But anyway, back to The Walking Dead. I love that speech.
No, I love that speech. You motivated me tonight, Ben. I feel it. I feel the energy.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Glad to hear it. All right, so we think that Maggie is probably developing into that role. She has to deal with this chemical warfare outbreak that we see happen, where, you know, crazy Simon, who's kind of, you know, dragging Dwight, and Dwight has a moment finally in this episode where he says to Simon, like, it's weird because it's like he's playing every side of the fence now. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's like, it's like he's kind of on the good guy's side. He's kind of on Negan's side. Like, he's like more loyal to Negan than he is to Simon. Right?
Yeah.
Even though Negan took his wife and burned his face, it feels like what he said to Simon, where he's like, Negan wouldn't want this. I mean, he's trying to save his friends, but I think he's also being honest. Like,
yeah, but I think it's just also the way that Simon presents everything. He's just an asshole.
He
you know
sucks.
what I mean? Like, I mean, at least, Negan may burn your face, but he's nice about it when he's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, he's a nice face burner.
And at least with Negan, he has this really weird kind of mentality where what he's doing is for the greater good, whereas Simon just wants to kill people. I feel like
he's just vengeful.
He's just vengeful. He just wants to kill people and move on.
Yeah.
They've done this really interesting thing where they've developed Negan and his point of view. And then they've made Simon like the worst part of Negan. They've literally said, like, what would happen if you were just Negan without a code?
Yeah.
If you weren't this awesome guy, but you were like this weird mutated variation on the guy. Like everything bad about him with like none of the good stuff. And that's what you get with Simon. It feels like he is just like the stupid version of Negan who doesn't get it. Right. Right?
Yeah, it's true. And it's also interesting to me the fact that they always say, I am Negan, you know, I am Negan. And do you think that you could really be a part of a group that you would be like, I am this person, you know, it's like he's God.
It's essentially a cult. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Could you do that though? I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be really tough
to be a cult leader.
No, to be the person
to be a follower.
under that, the follower.
Oh, sure.
You know, to say like you are this person, you know.
Well, right, especially if you're like a high level in the cult, how do you not become a little crazy and like a really negative reflection of the cult leader? Because the cult leader's always going to have like more power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I think that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's why Simon has so much aggression too. He wants to be that person that everybody really respects, but I don't think he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel bad for everybody who's following Negan because they all followed him because they had nowhere else to go, and they realized that Negan would protect them at the end of the day. Whether that means they have to work day and night for him, he's still protecting them. So it's like a means to an end. They work for a guy who's going to protect them.
Yeah.
I feel like the higher you get on the food chain, the closer you get to Negan, the more loyal you have to be, and that's where it gets tricky because you don't necessarily agree with everything that he's doing.
Well, the exchange on the walkie-talkie between Simon and Maggie,
that was great.
Where he's basically like, I don't care. They didn't protect themselves. They're all gonna die.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good indicator of where Simon's gonna end up because he's just like 38 people is a pretty significant number of people. I mean, there can't be that many saviors.
Yeah.
A couple thousand, maybe.
I would say maybe a couple of hundred.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, if we wanted to be generous and throw a lot of extras that can die in zombie fights,
which they did tonight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe it's 600, or I could see them being like there was 200 at this compound and 500 at this compound and 200 at the satellite.
Yeah.
So maybe, but it's less than 2,000. I think.
Yeah.
It's probably less than 1,000.
I think so too.
So 38 people is a pretty good number.
It is.
And you also got a good sense of like the mentality with a lot of those saviors. You know, with the one handsome guy whose name none of us probably know.
Alden.
Alden.
Yeah,
Nice.
Alden.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to switch seats?
No, you are our fearless leader. I will keep the reins in your hands.
I just
You're
call
a
him that
Rick, man.
handsome
You're a
guy.
Rick.
Yeah,
I call him that
exactly.
handsome guy because when he showed up the first time, I was like, no way, that guy's just a bit player. Remember I said?
You did. You
Yeah.
got it. You got it from the
You
beginning.
did, and I was like,
Yeah.
not everybody, and I gave you shit about
Yeah.
it, but
He's handsome.
I
He's a
give
real
you credit
character.
for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Sadiq also, speaking of like handsome characters that get their shot, he got his monologue tonight. He got his first moment. You know, as an actor, he probably read that. He was like, yes, I get a minute on screen.
He's like that whole 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, on The Walking Dead, it's a big deal.
That's true.
But yeah, you see kind of the bad side of Simon. You also see what Maggie's willing to do. And then this crazy attack happens with all these infected weapons. And it's funny because the way they set this up, they didn't put it straight in our faces. They just you kind of knew this was going to happen. You could feel it from the beginning of the episode. And unfortunately, one of the infected Alexandrians is none other than Carol's ex-boyfriend, our man Tobin.
Yes.
Jason Douglas, who we had a tearful goodbye to tonight.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a crazy one, right?
It's funny because when we talk about Carol, and we have been for the last couple of episodes, we always say, where can her character go?
Yeah.
Because she's been pretty much through everything. And I realized tonight we really haven't seen her in a relationship that she actually wants to be in, like a really happy relationship. Look at Rick and Michonne, look at Maggie and Glenn. Everybody has had these, you know, functional relationships except for her and Derrial. And that's one side that I really wanted to see from her, and they teased on it, and then they, once again, just took it away from us.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're always teased with her relationships, you know, with everyone. So it's just a continuous thing.
But this, I feel like more so, though, because she had that moment with Tobin on the porch, and I thought that it was going to go somewhere. I mean, she always had this weird thing with Derrial, and I don't know why they haven't touched back up on that. But for a very long time, everybody wanted her and Derrial to be together.
Yeah, sure.
Still, that relationship still has always seemed weird to me.
Derrial and Carol?
Yeah, it always, well, because like early on in the show, and I mean, the show's now been on TV for 8 years. So like, Norman Reedus is significantly older than he was, and so is she.
Yes.
But even at the time, he seemed like a kid. He seemed like an angry, like 31-year-old or something like that. He's like just seems like a grizzled older 31-year-old still to me.
So you're saying that an older woman can't be with a
No, not at
younger-
all. But because she was a mother when the show started,
Right.
Right.
It felt like there was a weird maternal thing. She felt like his mom. And, you know, you guys never
never
felt that?
I mean, I
No.
just got like maybe like a bigger sister-ish is in age. Like I don't think they're that far in age if we
don't think so
really
either.
No,
calculated the
I
years.
think
you know?
that if they were to get together on the show, it would be totally
Especially
fine.
now, I feel
Yeah.
like now they've kind of just it's almost in sync.
Yeah,
you know.
agreed.
But I mean, even Ezekiel or whatever, you know, she's always had someone who kind of is in that same age group who we see that she's sort of been interested in or seen like.
Okay, let's just
interested
say
in.
this. Carol's a player, and that's all I want to say about it
Yeah.
because she's got Ezekiel, she's got Tobin, she's had Derrial.
Yeah.
I mean,
I definitely love me some Carol. She's one of my favorite characters in the whole show. But unfortunately, going back to that storyline with her and Derrial where he tries to find Sophia, it does feel strangely like they're setting us up to have the exact same storyline again.
with Henry,
Yeah, because Henry's gone now. You know she feels this responsibility, and I think she's going to go off looking for him.
of course.
And that's just the same storyline from season 2.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's similar.
I'm just
You're over
outright not interested in that storyline.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just do not care. The most significant thing about Henry is that his older brother's death was fuel for Morgan to turn crazy.
Yes.
That was the reason, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't care about Henry as a character at all. I also don't really give a shit about Carol caring about Henry.
Well, let's think about it like this. Carol lost Sophia. So if
Yeah.
you think about it, she wasn't able to protect her own daughter. Then she lost Lizzie. So and the other girl. So she wasn't able to protect them either. Maybe she finds that these kids are this challenge that she keeps being faced with, and she just takes it upon herself to say, this is where I'm going to succeed now.
Yeah.
So if she goes after Henry, I think that's where her mentality is. Like, I'm not going to lose another one. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess it feels a little bit like this is our 4th showrunner. I think Scott Gimple, and it's like he had a really good run for a couple seasons. And if that's the well they're going back to, is like send Carol off on a journey, it's just like, come on, guys. She's a better character than that. Look at the things that made her so beloved, that made her such a good character. And like, I don't think sending her off on a quest on her own to go find Henry is like what you want to see out of this.
Well, we don't want to see that anymore because I mean we already saw her obviously leave the camp and
Multiple
come back
times.
multiple times,
Yeah.
and at this point it's like okay, just stick with the camp. But I would like to see a different change in what they do with her character because you both are right. We have seen this similar storyline with her before with relationships with kids. She's always the mother to all the kids. And, you know, we know she's a badass, and I think I like better when the storylines are going more focusing on that for her.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought she was actually going to be more of the Maggie than what Maggie is.
Yeah.
In our reality.
Because the other thing that I think is so kind of like frustrating about this is like think about what they could do with Carol in this situation. One of the things they could do is they could have her leave, come across another community that is way softer and doesn't understand her, where she has to like teach them. Oh wait, that already happened. She did it at the Kingdom.
Oh, she did in the
Yes.
Kingdom.
It literally already happened.
Yeah.
So like I'm just like watching. I'm going like, this is one of your shining like 3 or 4 cast members. Do the right thing. Don't make us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This show doesn't need to make that misstep. It can avoid it. So hopefully that's not going to happen. Hopefully it's like a 1-episode thing.
Yeah.
She finds him. He's dead, and then we move on.
Well, Vader girl agrees with you, Ben. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Any other good chat highlights going on?
I mean, a lot of chats actually bringing back Shane, which I find interesting. They're comparing Shane to Daryl and just saying where he would be at this stage in the camp, you know. And it would be an interesting idea to think about where Shane actually, where he would be, like his loyalty to Rick versus
That's a
any
great
other thing.
It's a great conversation to have. Like, you know, I've actually heard people have that conversation before. Like, I fought on an episode of TV Fights over at Screen Junkies like a year ago, probably, maybe longer. And one of the questions was, you know, what character on The Walking Dead do you think shouldn't have died? And one of the people fought really hard that Rick should have died and Shane should have lived. It should have been Shane's show. And I don't agree with that. I think like it's revisionist history to go back and say that, because who knows if the show would have gotten 8 seasons if you have Shane in the lead.
I agree.
Also, I think that if John Barenthal is the lead actor on the show, then we don't get the John Barenthal that we've gotten in the last 7 years when he's had this amazing movie career.
Yeah.
Like, he's like one of my favorite rising stars. He just keeps showing up in everything good.
Yeah.
From Baby Driver to like Wind River to like he's the Punisher. Like he's just great.
Yeah.
John Barenthal's a
He
badass.
delivers. Yeah, he delivers.
I
Really good
never
actor.
understood people's I don't want to say obsession, but with this ongoing thing that Shane should still be around.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like his character departed when he needed to depart. I felt like that was a really great season and a
it's
character
one of
arc for
my
Shane.
favorites.
I feel like if I'm going to pick any character that should have lived, it should have been Andrea, because she had a really great. I feel like her character was
Yeah.
stopped short, whereas Shane kind of had his full circle.
Yeah, the Andrea death was because they wanted, I think, to build Michonne into the
Michonne,
Andrea
yes.
role.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
replaced her.
Yeah.
In any case, we digress.
Yes.
So, talking about the death of Tobin, Jason Douglas, and kind of the setup, we hadn't really gotten a lot of him in a while. He had been a pretty tertiary character.
Yeah.
He was like a carpenter. Is that kind of what he did? He was the head of
Yeah,
like
something like that.
Yeah.
blacksmith or
Blacksmith,
something.
I was going to say, yeah.
So yeah, it's sort of part of the. It was interesting that they decided to kill like. Okay, you're the showrunner and you're looking at your cast of characters on the wall like it's a police investigation. You got all the little like photographs up on the wall and you're like, we need a death. Him? Like, do you think that's how it goes? Do you think it's like we need to kill someone in this episode? I guess it should be that guy. Like, is it that simple? I mean, I guess it can't be your regulars, but everybody else on the show is like pretty much fair game.
I mean, like you said, he hasn't really shown up in a while, so I wasn't as emotionally connected to him. I did like the fact that they showed a little bit of chemistry with him and Carol.
Yeah.
To kind of like tease us to say, hey, this could have been something, but then, you know, just to snatch it away once again. Thank you, The Walking Dead writers. I just liked that aspect of it, but I wasn't really emotionally connected to Tobin. I'm not really upset that he's gone.
He did have a really good scene with Carol here because there's a couple parts in that scene. First of all, when he says, was any of it real?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the same line that Don Johnson says on the phone in the pilot on Miami Vice when he's
Really?
on the way. I don't know if you guys have ever watched this pilot.
No.
It's in the Air Tonight is playing. Phil
I love that
Collins.
song.
Great song.
They play the entire song.
Okay.
And it's like the moodiest 80s TV episode you've ever watched in your life. They're like driving and there's like a wheel camera and he pulls over and like the song's playing and he gets on the phone because he's a Vice cop and he
Yeah.
calls his wife and he's like, Sherry, was any of it real? And then he like gets
I
back
love
in the
the
car.
voice.
Yeah,
over
that was
you're doing
great.
right now.
It's
That was
great.
It's so great.
With the phone in your hand. That was great.
Yeah. But anyway, the conversation that they have was the important part here. And I thought that it was great that she says to him, I don't think any of it ends. Winning just means we get tomorrow. Maybe one more night. After that, there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a pretty good description of kind of the way Carol sees the world. I
Yes.
think that's it. I think it's the way a lot of them see it, but she like verbalized it, which I thought was really important. And that's where we are now. How do you see the end of this war as like the new world? It's just the next like frying pan you have to jump out of.
Well, you have to. I mean, because you don't really know. You know, you're just waiting to find out like everyone else. You know, I mean, especially with all the obstacles they've gone through, it's like, how do you even try and predict what the future is going to be?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Quick shout out to Carl the First, who gave us a great YouTube comment last week. Absolutely terrific, talking about predictions that we missed, really, really in depth, and we love it when you guys do that. So
Yeah.
again, just like we talked about with iTunes, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, leave your thoughts. We get a bunch of great comments. We go through and respond to them. So if you do, we'll give you a shout out, just like we're doing here with Dalton Farine and Carl the First. Let's keep moving through the episode. I thought there was something really interesting that happened last week where somebody commented that there's a wiki page, or they tweeted at us. Is that what it was? We all got that
Yes.
tweet, right? That somebody had added up all the days since
On
Glenn's
the days,
death.
yeah.
And it's been like approximately 26 days since Glenn's death.
It hasn't been long at all. And
That-
the time, not to cut you off, but the time really hit me in this episode because they were so focused on the time, which we'll get to. But you realize that it's not as long as we think it is. It was
Yeah.
literally, we literally picked up
Like
from
minutes.
exactly where last week's episode was going when the caravan was going, but it felt like a month that had happened with Rick and Negan and then the caravan going to the hilltop. And now it's literally like what, an hour later.
Literally.
So yeah, time is really weird on this show. So I'm glad that he did that, because to know that we've only been in this for less than a month really puts it in perspective for us. But then it's also kind of sad because we've lost so many people, it's only been a month.
We have, but it's funny. It's like in the chat they were even talking about there's so many characters on here that there's just like oversaturation of characters that a lot of people just don't care about the characters that are on there right now, you know, and I kind of agree with that.
Yeah. I think with a show like this, I feel like the same thing with Grey's Anatomy, because I also do the Grey's Anatomy after show on Thursday nights. Haha, self-plug. I feel like once you get into a show like this, 8 seasons, and there's so many characters, the writers are going to have a hard time keeping up with these storylines.
Yeah.
It's just hard. It's just impossible to do. So
I was trying to find the tweet.
You can find it.
Yeah,
I figured.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Like there's just not. We've been going for a while. We haven't been going that long. And if you think about that, 25 days, 3.5 weeks since Glenn died. I mean, this whole entire season and a half has been 3.5 weeks of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't seem,
That's crazy.
It's funny because when we got what we got out of Maggie's character tonight was that she is still so upset, and this is still so fresh for her.
Right.
So to hear that it's only been 25 days since your husband died, I understand that, but I need more of that. Like I feel like once again it's been months, and that Maggie should not be over it, but be less open wounded by it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
because everything moves so quicker
I
pace,
know.
you know, in that sense, in this world.
Yeah.
So 25 days is like 5 years.
It's
you know?
crazy.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's talk about a little bit of like what we expect going forward after this plot line. We had all of these 38 prisoners pretty much escape. There's a few of them that are left here. Maggie had a little bit of sympathy and a little bit of patience. It seems like there's maybe like 7 or 8, it looked like, who stayed around. We're closing the gate.
Yeah.
So we got a few new members of the ranks. Alden has joined the ranks. And then a bunch of these other saviors have ran off, including the dickbag with the long hair. Jared, that's the guy. Yeah. And we think that Carol's probably going to leave. Sadiq, I guess, is becoming a little more ingrained in the group. He had a scene, with the doctor.
I think what I liked about Sadiq's character tonight was not only his scene with the doctor, I think her name is Dr. Dana, might be wrong, I think I heard it, but also kind of his growth with Rick, because we see it in the beginning of the episode, and Rick is just
Offers
like, I
to fix
hate
his
you,
wound.
and then toward the end,
It's slowly but surely
Yeah,
they're trying
he's
to
like
establish
slowly-
that connection
yeah.
between the two.
Yeah,
And
which
Sadiq's
is
playing it good.
Yeah,
He's, like,
he's not too
being much.
pushy.
But really, the crazy thing is like the relationship between Michonne and Rick, because I felt the tension, you know, and I felt like Michonne was really trying to kind of like, be sensitive to Rick, but on the other side, be there for him, and I felt like he was pushing her back a little bit more than I've ever seen before. So that's gonna be part of my prediction with their relationship.
a breakup on The Walking Dead would be crazy. We haven't seen that since Shane and Lori.
Yeah.
Which is like a forced breakup. We've never seen just like, I don't want to be with you in the apocalypse. I'm going to go hang out with this group. You just like,
That's true.
You just
That's
chill.
true,
You know?
yeah.
I guess it has to happen eventually.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
I don't know. I don't think they're gonna break up.
You don't
I
think
feel
so?
like I feel like this Carl's death is obviously gonna affect both of them, and I feel like Michonne is very patient and she knows what Rick needs, and this is why I think that they're good together.
Yeah.
Because she just understands that okay, you just need time right now, so I'm gonna give you time. I'm gonna give you space, and then when you are ready to talk, I'll be there. And that's what I saw in that scene tonight.
Yeah. So the name of the episode was Do Not Lead Us Astray. And I definitely feel like the theme of the episode was at the end of this, what happens, right? So like, I think they're trying to get us comfortable with the idea that at the end of this, we're going to be on to the next chapter of The Walking Dead. What's it going to look like? Who's going to be the leader? Who's going to have faith? Who's going to stick around, right? Like, who's not going to have died? And I guess that's the big question, because we've got like 3 episodes left, I think, in the season.
Yeah, 3.
I definitely think that this is a huge turning point for this show. I think that the end of the Negan storyline and how they set up season 9 is kind of everything.
Yeah.
Ratings have been plummeting. There's a lot of fan disinterest with the show. They've ridden out this one villain for like almost 2 years.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of question marks. I think almost like they're talking to us as an audience. Do not lead us astray.
Yeah.
They're like, stick with us. We'll get through this.
I hope after this season, after this all-out war kind of storyline wraps up, I hope that they understand now, because of fans' reactions, that they can't have a villain on for longer than a season at most, half a season at best, because we just get bored. It's
Yeah.
like, it's unrealistic to think that
Well, how
somebody.
long was the governor on?
He stayed on way too long. Way too long. They brought him back a second season.
But I never thought, with his though, I never got, because at least with the governor, we got more of like a backstory. We understood that he had a family. We understood that he had a daughter, and then he was
Yeah,
kind of moving on. Like they did different things with his character. With Negan, it's just a kind of a one note kind of thing.
Well, yeah, he's played that gimmick really.
Yeah,
hard.
so I wasn't mad at the governor, but I am mad at what they're doing with Negan, and especially with Jeffrey Dean Morgan as playing him. Like he's fantastic, and I don't feel like they're doing enough.
Yeah. We will talk a little bit more about kind of the similarities between Negan in the comics and Negan in the show and what we can expect in our comic book spoiler section if you guys stay tuned at the end of sign-offs. We have a quick message for you guys we're going to get to.
Yes. So if you guys want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life, for those who do, we have a podcast for you. I know I do. I know that you guys do. Who doesn't want to grow in life? Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition, is hosted by our AfterBuzz TV founder and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews, so super entertaining, along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life, from health and wellness to career relationships, finance, and more. I always need help on my relationships because, relationships in LA are hard, you guys. Let our Maria be the big sister that you've always wanted. Just go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. I don't know about you guys, but as a host pursuing my dreams, it's great to have Maria's, podcast for all of career lessons, because we could all learn, we all learn something new. Life is nothing but teaching lessons. So be sure to rate and comment, and when you do, let Maria know it was us who sent you there. Her own AfterBuzzers. Conversations with Maria Menounos podcast edition every Friday. Check it out, you guys.
It's a terrific podcast. Maria is not only the best in the business, but she's also an incredibly successful person. Tons and tons of great tips in there. I highly recommend it. A lot of our friends help produce or on it periodically, and good people.
Including our very own Derrial.
Yes,
Yes,
you're
I'll
on.
actually be there this Thursday. So.
Very cool.
Oh, there you go. So if
Very
you guys want to
cool.
see that.
Let's talk a little bit of Walking Dead news. A couple pieces of news that broke this week. Jeffrey DeMunn, who played Dale. Do you guys remember him in the first couple
Yes.
seasons with the
of course.
sweet hat?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
In an interview this week with Cleveland.com, he actually talked about that when he died on the show, this is just revealed, he asked to be killed. He was a good friend of Frank Darabont, the creator of the show.
Yep.
Who I've told you guys my Darabont story. I think I've told it on air before, right?
I think you have.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was working at Meltdown
Yes.
Comics.
Oh, yeah,
R.I.P.
yeah.
It's closing now, by the way. When he, when he came in and bought the Walking Dead books, and I was like, "You should come and stay." And he was like, "I got to pitch this show to AMC tomorrow," and then he pitched it and it got made. Anyway, when he was pushed out, and since he sued AMC for like a tremendous amount of money back last year, or 2016. This guy who was a good friend of his, Jeffrey, he called him and was like, "I don't want to work in the glaring heat. Darabont's a friend of mine. I want out. It's a zombie show. Kill me."
Yeah.
And that's how he died on the show.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he dies in the comics, obviously, so
Yeah.
it's not like that much of a stretch, but when they killed him, I thought that was so interesting. Can you imagine being on a show as successful as Walking Dead as an actor and being
saying
like,
that you want to be killed off.
yeah, just get me out of the show? Like maybe, I guess it
that's-
wasn't as big in season 2.
I don't know. I feel like he was getting some really great traction.
It was getting a lot of burn. Yeah.
I feel like the actor that played Dale is just one of those people, though, because if you guys remember, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Mist, but he was on it with Lori.
Yeah.
Cast were on there. Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know exactly if this is true or not. I'm speculating. But I feel like they might have asked Dale to come on first, and then he brought Andrea, I forget her name, the actress's name,
Yeah,
who
it's
played Andrea.
escaping me right now.
But I feel like he brought her on as well.
You're talking about because The Mist? Well, The Mist was
Yeah.
Darabont. It's directed by Frank Darabont, so it's like the same.
So so
group
it
of
is
people.
a little bit incestuous.
Yeah, because Darabont he put Jeffrey DeMunn in like every one of his movies. He's in
he did,
Shawshank,
Yes.
he's in The Mist, he's in The Green Mile, he's even in The Majestic,
Mm-hmm.
and then he shows up in the other show that he did, Mob City, is that what that show was called?
City, yep.
Which starred Shane,
It did.
Yeah, John Barenthal, so it's a small world, right?
Yeah.
Other piece of news, Jason Douglas in an interview, I believe with Geek Tyrant or somebody like that, he's the guy that plays Tobin, talked about getting the phone call, letting him know that his character was
famous
going to
phone call.
die. Yeah, and he was like, "I missed the call. I got this message from Gimple." He's like, "Hey, call me back." And he's like, "I could tell that he sounded totally different." And he's like, if I hadn't called him back, maybe I wouldn't have died."
He's just avoiding it, like a girlfriend trying to avoid a breakup. She's like, "No, I don't want to call
Exactly.
you
Like,
back. No, okay, no, it's not real." Yeah.
So he makes the call, finds out that he's gonna die. He gets the choice to. So he does the whole zombie makeup thing. He was excited to get to do it.
That's
so.
cool.
Yeah,
At least
right?
you have that to look forward to. You know what I
Totally,
mean?
he got to do the full monster death.
I mean,
right?
that's what it's about. He did a great job too.
Yeah, he was terrific. So that's our little blurbs of news this week. Do you guys want to get into general predictions?
Yeah,
What do you
Yeah,
think?
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
And now, Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
My favorite.
All right, so we have 3 episodes left this season. What's going to happen? My first major prediction is we're going to get a death by the end of this season of one of our major 5. So whether it's Rick, and it's crazy because Carl just died.
Yeah.
Whether it's Rick, Maggie, Carol, Daryl,
Or Michonne.
or Michonne. I think one of our core 5 is going to die by the end of the season.
Oof.
Crazy, right?
That just puts a pit in my stomach when you talk about them.
I think one of those 5 is going to get killed off in the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I also think there's going to be a relationship change. I kind of said this a few minutes ago, but I think there's going to be a relationship change between Rick and Michonne. I sort of disagree with you in the fact of that they'll become stronger. I think that Rick is going to become more distant because of the fact what happened to Carl.
Yeah.
I think with everything going on, he's not going to be able to kind of come back to his center as he used to be able to.
I can see it going both ways. I just like them together, and I never thought that I would, but I do. So I'm hoping that they stay together. I actually have a pretty big prediction, and it might just be throwing it way out there. But you touched on earlier how Jared, the long-haired greaser dude, why he's not dead yet, and now that he's escaped, I don't think that I think he's too smart to go back to the Saviors because obviously he has no value there.
Yeah.
I think that he might be like the new leader or go to this new group that might be, a
he
threat
might become
in the
like
future.
a new villain.
Yes.
What a cock that
Yeah.
guy. He's
I could
Gregory?
totally see it.
Maybe
Like,
he'll go with Gregory.
yeah, and it didn't hit me until you said like, why do they keep him alive? Like,
Yeah.
why would they keep him alive? Probably to be a new villain.
Would have been easy for him to be dead by now.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty consistent working actor. We saw Jesus tonight, by the way, for the first time. Like,
I know. I
I'm
thought about
glad
that.
you
I was like, I hadn't seen him forever.
Lord knows how long. No.
I actually think that Simon's going to die too, actually.
Yeah, I think that seems like a pretty
I
solid.
don't know. So I feel like the build-up, we're hating him so much. I feel like in the next 3 episodes, one of those, he's going to die.
Which is
I was going to say my last prediction is I think that Negan is going to pseudo become a good guy by the end of the season to help defeat the bad guys. I don't think he's going to be like a good guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to fight alongside our heroes a little bit.
I think it really depends on what Jadis does with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I just get the feeling they're going to need him somehow.
Yeah.
And
So
Jeffrey Dean Morgan just like that would be brilliant. Like I said earlier, his character it's been very one note. So I would love for that to happen. I would love for him to come back and like have this change of character and help people, actually help people.
For sure.
Well, Vader Girl says, good-looking savior kills long hair douche.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Maybe it happens.
Maybe it happens.
Yeah, maybe it happens, Vader Girl. All right, guys, we are going to get into the final segment on the show, and this is something that we tease every single week. It's comic book spoiler time. We're just going to talk for 2 minutes about what happens in the comics, what you can expect. Now, if you don't want to know anything about the show, if you do not want to know anything about the show that has to do with the comic books, this is your chance to turn off your phone, to turn off YouTube, to get rid of it, to not listen. We're giving you 10 seconds. If we can get that spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert!
Oh, my God.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
I feel like I'm on a submarine and it's about to get hit by a missile or something.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It's like Crimson Tide right now.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're going to talk a little bit of comic book spoilers. So let's just. I'm 2 books behind right now.
Wow.
But I mean,
Okay.
I'm still way ahead of the show because the Negan storyline,
course,
this
yes.
Negan storyline ends way, way, way back.
Yes.
So here's my thing. Talking about Negan and him in the comic book, to the point that I'm at, he continues to be like the primary villain character. I mean, we get the change with the Whisperers, but he continues to be basically the primary big bad for a while after this war is over.
Yeah.
And I think that they maybe they had that in mind originally.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to do it now.
I can't.
I just think that they're going to stray away from it.
I can't even get on board with that at all.
Yeah.
It just would be no. I don't even know. That would be the stupidest move.
Do you think that they're going to imprison him like they do?
I think they could. Yeah.
Because in the comics, they build a prison and they put Negan in a prison, and he basically becomes like an inmate. And Rick he makes the decision to not kill Negan, but Carl's still alive in the comics at that point. There's like a whole storyline. I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it happening.
Yeah.
I could see him being in a prison and Rick finally killing him, though.
Well, it's funny that you said in our predictions that you thought that one of the core 5 was going to die at the finale or something. I think that Negan's going to die. I think that they have to, and I've been saying it. I feel like the whole imprisoning thing. Why would you do that? He's had we've seen him enough. He's had 2 seasons. Like, no, just kill him. Another thing that I thought was interesting with the difference in the comics tonight was that Tara got shot and Rick didn't.
Yeah.
And I thought, why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I understand that they had this feud between Dwight and Tara, and that's why, but I felt like if it was Rick that got shot, or even one of the core 5, the stakes would have been higher. Like, now we're like looking at it and like, oh, is Tara gonna change?
Tara's such like a.
Maybe. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Like they wasted an opportunity. That's what I feel like. it
yeah,
is.
but I think they're trying to add stakes to her character.
Yes,
I mean, that's
yes.
the point. They're trying to make us care more about that character.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, are you over Tara though at this point?
I mean, I'm not over her.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't felt like Tara's been like a very relevant part of the show for a little while.
Yeah.
She's fine. She's just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
No hate, just like
Yeah.
not one of my
Yeah, she's
favorite
not
characters.
one of the top. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Speaking of Tara, I'm glad that she brought up in this episode how hypocritical it was because there were a lot of fan feedback, and I meant to mention this in News and Gossip, but there was a lot of fan lash out at Tara's character because of everything that she's going through and all the shit that she was giving
Yeah,
Dwight, and she
right.
was doing the same thing with the governor. Like, you were on the wrong side at one point too, and then you came over. So I'm glad they addressed that in this episode.
She
which,
was a governor character, wasn't
Yes.
she?
She was.
I forgot that's where
Yeah.
she came
yeah,
from.
and then they shot her girlfriend. she just loses all her
She
girlfriends.
does lose all her
does.
girlfriends. She does, which was acknowledged sort of
Yeah.
in the episode.
Tonight.
So,
Yeah. All right, I think that pretty much wraps up our comic book prediction section.
Yeah.
We continue to spoil things for Derrial, and he loves it.
I do. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Guys, like, subscribe, leave your thoughts below. If you want to follow along with any one of us, Walking Dead or wherever else we're doing, you can find us same time, same place here next week. Timothy, where can the folks find you?
Thanks for tuning in, guys. I am Timothy Michael. You can find me everywhere at I am Timothy Mike.
And Derrial.
You can find me at Derrial Christon here on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and on Maria Menounos' show next Thursday.
Yep.
So
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter, Instagram. If you like movies, check out Nerds and Suits on Twitter, Nerds and Suits Movies on Anchor.fm. You can find it on iTunes, on Spotify, what have you. I review everything. And, here I do Action Movie Anatomy on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock on the Popcorn Talk Network. All right, thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.